Hello everyone, welcome to Yachting International Radio. You're with Corrine Rayson from the Crew Coach, and today our guest expert is Heidi Hadley, the CEO and founder of Total Somatics. And what we're covering today is something that we can all resonate with, and that is stress and where it sits in our body. So Heidi is going to share her expertise, and she works in a very specialized area, so it's going to be fascinating to unpack this. But how does our body process stress, and how can we get rid of it? Before I begin, let's welcome Heidi to the show.
Thank you.
Great, Heidi. So before we dive in, what is your background? Because you've got such an interesting bio, and it always fascinates me when I hear people who've studied something like yourself, traditional medicine, and then moved to alternative therapies.
Yeah, so I started back over 20 years ago. I live in Australia now, but I'm originally from the UK. And basically, from the age of about 14, I wanted to work in neurophysiology. So I had this focus of that's what I wanted to do. So I did all my studies, and then I got a job at the University Hospital in Birmingham, and I worked in neurophysiology. So I'd be involved in lots of diagnostic investigations, and it was a fantastic experience, and would have the opportunity to go into theatre and assist with specialized operations. So there'd be a neurosurgeon, there'd be a consultant neurophysiologist, and then I would be there with electrodes to put directly on a brain when somebody had been in a situation whereby they tried all the anti-epileptic drugs and things didn't work, and they'd been through a huge process before they got to this surgery. So, I used to look at this brain and then even see the brain activity in all the different investigations that I did, and just thought, what an incredible thing that we have. And we're all so unique. And so really that's where it all began. And then over the time, I get patients coming in to see me, and they tell me all about these complementary treatments and therapies that they were having. And it really sparked something in me. So I started researching. So while I was working full-time in neurophysiology, I started researching and then started studying some of these natural therapies at night school. And then at the right time, I then left the NHS and then started building my business. And so we had that for several years in the UK, and then we sold, and then we emigrated to Australia, and now I've built up a clinic here in Adelaide in South Australia. But I have a membership that serves people in over 20 countries around the world, which is Total Somatics. We've worked on that over the years.
Gosh, fantastic. So I've got two questions there for you before we even go any further. That experience you had, going into a room and working with a team of clinicians, that's quite unique. Was there any particular moments or an event or a patient whose story struck you and thought, wow, I want to do more?
Yes, absolutely. I was doing some nerve conduction studies on a young lad, and he came in and he was probably about 18 or 19 years old. And it was in the days, do you remember when you used to have the stereo that used to press that button and pop the front part of your stereo out and put it in a little plastic case? I don't know if you recall those days, but they used to be like the old CD players that you had in your car. So he came in for his investigation, and he had his keys, and he had this little plastic container that put the front part of his stereo. And he was telling me all about his car and the future that he wanted and all this sort of thing. And I was like, this sounds so cool. And then from certain investigations that we did, I couldn't legally tell him this, but I could interpret the results, and they weren't great results. It wasn't a great prognosis for him. And so he would have been seeing his consultant at a later date for those results. And for me, that really hit me, because at that point I thought, I love what I do. I love this patient contact. All the stuff about the brain and the nervous system is so incredible, but I felt helpless because I was in this diagnostic field, and yet I wanted to go further and see how I could support him, because I could see that there were going to be obstacles, and those obstacles would be to do with the prognosis and his mindset and how he was going to move forward and what he could do. And that's when it really started to change. And I thought, I love this area, but I feel like my hands are tied, and I actually want to serve people and help them on a lifestyle long-term journey, really.
Okay. I think there's always a story in your career that becomes life-changing, isn't it? And that's why I really wanted to ask you that. So in terms of your membership, what sort of clients or members walk through your door? Why would they come?
So in person, so in my clinic here in South Australia, there's lots of different issues that people will come with. So it could be recurring issues that they have or injuries. It could be from stress related aspects, post-operative. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of stress now. So again, the way that their muscles are being held on a long-term basis, that's what we start to see. And basically that's what mirrors within my membership as well. So over the time, I continue to serve my members, and I hold monthly workshops, and I'm asking them all the time, what would you like me to really delve into and cover this time? So it's often a lot of things such as we recently did one on the Achilles and Achilles issues. We did a workshop on the knee and leg health. We've done stuff on the sacroiliac joint. We've discussed things like the vagus nerve in relation to stress and back pain, or any subject that's linked with it. All comes back down to how our brain is patterning tension, how it holds us, how we move, what our posture's like, and how all that translates into our emotional and mental health. So it kind of all starts to tie in, but a lot of it is sort of chronic back issues and other muscular issues.
Okay, and with stress in the body, does it sit in different places for different people, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in clinical somatics and in total somatics, what I teach is that really our brain is a pattern creator. So everything that happens, your brain is constantly, we're more sensory than motor. So what we do every day, we're sort of smelling things, noticing things, listening to things, and that really, our life journey, our life experience shapes who we are. So the perception or the lens we look through has a huge influence. So because of that aspect, we know that your brain is kind of soaking all this information in all the time, and we are more subconscious than conscious. So we take a lot of stuff in that we don't realize until sometimes we then feel chronic pain, or we're limited with our movement. Or as people have said to me, they'll walk past a shop window, catch their posture in the window and go, oh, that poor person, they've got a shocking posture, and then realize it's them. Because it's so insidious. Stress starts to manifest in many ways. And in clinical somatics and in total somatics as a whole, what we start to see is certain sort of emotional makeup or personality makeup will start to create a certain patterning. And that can be a lot of tension through the back of the body. And then other personalities and other coping mechanisms will find that they have a greater level of muscle tension and brain patterning through the front of their body. So it can either make them go into that round shouldered appearance where they get lots of hip flexor issues, gut issues, breathing issues, and lots of neck and jaw problems, bursitis and shoulder issues. And then the people that have all the patterning of tension through the back of their body get things like herniated discs, sciatica, hamstring problems, plantar fasciitis, neck issues. And because if you're holding this tension for so long from things like stress, it starts to just hold and then affect our muscular and joint health. And then also it starts to affect our quality of life because we just can't do what we used to do.
No. And I know within our industry, I would say from a physiological point of view, the back would probably be the biggest issue. Not only because of stress, but I think the sheer physicality involved when working on a vessel, those tiny little stairs that you've got to go up and down all the time, and the guys and girls who are working on deck and having to do wash downs, you're on your feet all day for long hours, and it really does take a toll. I know I used to use this machine, that back massage machine pillow thing, and used to lie on it. I try and get all the knots out of my back that way. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling at the moment with crew. That's probably what they're dealing with. And I know you do a lot of movement to help release that. And we're not going to go too much into the how, because you're going to present as a guest expert in the TCC Tribe My membership. And I'm very fortunate to have you help the crew work through those issues. So in terms of what those members are going to walk away with, what would that look like?
Wow, they're going to learn a lot. So they're going to be learning how to regulate and come back into a bit more of a state of balance, so regulate their nervous system. Because if I can add to this point, and then it will tie into what they're going to feel, is the personality trait that you're describing is the person that's the go, 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 like that type A personality, on the go all the time. And so if you consider this, that your brain doesn't know the difference between perceived and actual danger, in a life-threatening stress response, like think of the saber-toothed tiger chasing the cave person, that cave person is going to have all those back muscles flaring and firing up with a view to either fighting that predator or running and fleeing. Mm-hmm. And that's the same mindset and the same brainstem stress response. And your brainstem is at the back here of your brain, right at the bottom, and it's involved in all the subconscious actions. And what it's doing is it's keeping you primed. So if you've got somebody on the boat all the time racing around, their nervous system is keeping them in this high functioning anxiety, this state of alertness. And so all of their back muscles are going to be primed. And so what I'm going to be teaching them in the workshop is that we want to have that response, and it's got to come at the right time. But when we live like that all the time, it's exhausting to have your muscles just primed and tensed and ready for this impending doom or stress, which as your nervous system doesn't know if it's a real danger that's coming towards you, like predatory, or you're just on the go all day. So I'm going to teach them how to wind down and reset their nervous system, but also with really small, simple brain training movements. So it's not stretching. Stretching has been shown not to change your brain at any of your muscle behavior at a brain level. So it doesn't hit the brain, stretching. So it won't change muscle memory. It doesn't help with changing the muscle length at the belly. Whereas I'll teach a 3-step process, which is actually waking up your brain map and teaching your brain to muscle connection how to release that chronically tight pattern of tension, especially through the back of their body, so that they can learn these techniques, pick them up, do them at different times, and then feel that they're back in this state of balance. And so instead of being fired up all the time, because it's hard work to stay in that high functioning anxiety, and that starts to affect our headspace. Things that people say we can get very reactive or quite sensitive because we're in this heightened alert state all the time.
Gosh, Heidi, I'm very curious to know, with all your knowledge, what have you applied in your everyday life to maintain health and wellness?
Well, that's the thing. We're all work in progress, aren't we? So I always say somas exist in time. So we're all somas. So a soma is a sensory organism that's adapting and changing and shifting all the time. So obviously I'm work in progress, and there'll be days that it's great and things are just ticking over. But then if there's a day where I may have not slept too much, had some sugar, different things like that can just knock you off center. And then you can feel yourself going back into these subconscious patterns. So that's why I always say to everyone, when you have those sorts of days, don't beat yourself up and go, oh, I should know this stuff. Because we're all human, nobody's perfect. But what we think is, right, let's just have a reset from here. There's obviously something that's slightly off kilter at the moment. What can I do to bring myself back into that state of balance? So for me and for my husband, we love lots of hiking. And so when we're hiking, we do lots of photography, that sort of thing. My meditation, apart from enjoying doing my somatic movement practice, my type of meditation is swimming. When I start swimming and you're focusing on your breathing and you've just got that rhythm and any tension that you've held, you just feel like it's being discharged through that movement. Yeah. That is really powerful for me. And within 10 minutes, my mind is just so quiet. And then I'll look at the time and I've been swimming up and down for about an hour and a half. It's really incredible. It's really incredible.
Wow.
So yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying is when you're in that flow, when you find that thing that you're in the flow, it doesn't feel hard work. And so that's why I'll just go back and reset all the time, because the reality is when you're teaching this sort of information, you've got to keep checking out how you are personally, because if things aren't quite right, you can project that sort of energy onto people, because we can sense so much, and people have, they pick your vibes, don't they?
Absolutely. Heidi, thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited for you to pop into the membership, and I know that you'll be offering a workshop to our extended community. So everyone, stay tuned for that. Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
If you would like to access wonderful experts like Heidi, then I highly suggest that you get on the waitlist for TTC Tribe. This is an exclusive membership for yacht crew to not only access a wonderful support network of yachting professionals, but also to upskill in the areas of personal, professional development, as well as well-being. So please do get on the wait list.